Webcams in Dead Horse show the weather's looking pretty good there, so we're just waiting for the weather to clear en route. So it looks like the helo is still on the ground, Jeremy.
Yeah, the weather in Dead Horse looks pretty nice. It's hard to sit here, especially looking out the window.
Yeah. So right now, the helicopter isn't here in Barrow, so we're still waiting for the helicopter to fly from Prudhoe out to Barrow, which is about 2 hours along the North Slope coast of Alaska.
Barrow is just located on the border between the Chukchi and the Beaufort Sea, so whatever side the wind comes from causes the moisture to come up from either one of those, so we have very rapidly changing weather here.
He's made several attempts so far, but each time he's had to turn around due to deteriorating conditions.
The weather here is characterized by low fog and whiteout snow conditions. Whiteout is an area where you might have visibility, but there's nothing to look at, so you can't see anything, and it's very bad, dangerous conditions. Airplanes can really easily fly into the ground because there's nothing to look at.
He's described flying into a whiteout where he loses the horizon.
Depending with the wind shift, you suddenly can get clouds building up very fast, and the vice versa happens, that it's cloudy and foggy and suddenly it clears up real quick, and that's why the weather here is pretty fickle.
We're sitting here pretty much all ready to go. Our equipment is already staged in the hangar. So as soon as he sets down and we refuel, we're planning to be able to take off again straight away and get out onto the sea ice to do what we came here to do.
These are a GPS, basically there's a GPS unit in the middle of this white foam package. So we have two-way communication with these little foam balls, basically. And the purpose of the project is to test them to see if their battery length is long enough, see if they're reliable enough so we can put out a lot of them and start making small-scale measurements of ice deformation. This is how it comes. You open up a box and out pops this foam float, basically. So in order to activate it, you just pull out this magnet and then it starts transmitting. It's got a satellite transmitter in there, just like a satellite phone. The motivation behind this ice tracker project was to basically test or verify that these very inexpensive ice drifters would be able to accurately track ice motion.
The forces involved in this can be tremendous. It's the wind acting on the ice, sometimes over hundreds of kilometers, can generate a lot of surface stress on the ice that can push two ice floes together with an almost incomprehensible amount of force. If you sit there and try and picture how many of the world's largest bulldozers will be required to create the piles of ice that you literally see everywhere all around you, it's a mind-boggling and humbling terrain to be in.
We wanted a technology that was easily deployed by first responders. In case of an oil spill in the Arctic during drilling, you could go out there with a helicopter or a fixed-wing plane and throw these things onto the ice. It'll tell you where the ice is. What you can start doing from that is, if you put a bunch of them out, then you can start telling how different pieces of ice are moving in different directions.
So this is the 16th year that I've been coming up to Barrow to study the sea ice. And that means I'm now, in many ways, coming back to see friends who I know, people who live here in Barrow. And we rely on a lot of the local expertise to help us decide which are the important scientific questions. And in many cases, we go out onto the ice with local residents to learn about the ice from their perspective. We're often accompanied by a local ice expert who acts as our guide and our bear guard. I have never failed to learn something new when I go onto the ice and talk to people who depend on this ice for their living and their livelihood. They have a different way of looking at it. There's a lot to be learned by sharing time on the ice with the people who live here in Barrow.
This is an extremely important technology as more and more people start to work up in the Arctic. So you get more shipping, you get more oil development, and so you get more chance of a spill. In order to be able to respond to it, you really have to have technologies like this.
As a field scientist who has to go out onto the sea ice to get his data, we're at the mercy of the weather. We're prepared for that. We come here expecting to be able to kill some time while we're waiting for the helicopter. So if you're coming to the Arctic, bring a good book.